governmental accounting standards. So definitely during this time, we're not going to sit and read 34 pages of information. What I will point out to you is our profession came out with what was called the clarified auditing standards, hopefully to clarify, make things more clear for everybody. So as you look through this document on pages 1 and 2, it's our audit opinion. And if you look at the audit opinion this time compared to others, it's actually broken out in several paragraphs with headings. You'll notice there's a paragraph that talks about what the board's responsibilities are in regards to these financial statements. There's another paragraph that sets out what us as auditors are responsible for doing. There is a separate paragraph that talks about what is our opinion on these financial statements. And we're very happy to report that they are unqualified, we call it. So unqualified means we did not find any findings that the financial statements appear to be presented in accordance with all the general accepted and governmental auditing and accounting standards. So that's a good thing. And then what they've done is they've expanded it even more. Under governmental rules, there's separate disclosures or more information about pension things, and there's more information about comparisons to budgets. And now we kind of put those out in separate paragraphs in the reports and talk a little bit more about, gee, there's other information included in here. Here's what we've done in relationship to the audit with that information. And they've even opened it up so if us as auditors even thought there was something else we thought we should emphasize, we can even add another paragraph and emphasize more matters in the report. So that's something that wasn't in there before. So it's just to point that out to you. On pages 3 to 7 in this report is the management discussion and analysis, and that is basically written by your people. So I think Teresa did an excellent job. So that is a summary of if you will, or a more of a management report of here's the condensed financial information, here's what some of those changes are compared to prior years, why they happened, why they occurred. But one of the things you'll notice is the statement is now, instead of like a balance sheet, it's called a statement of net position. So they kind of rearranged it where it's presented as we have assets less liabilities is your net position. So instead of showing assets and then liabilities and your fund balances, it's now assets less liabilities equal your net position. Basically the same thing, just a little bit of different presentation with different bits of wording. So that's what that first statement is, and then we have more like here's your revenues and expenses and the changes in your net position, your equity position. On pages 10 and 11 then, we present a cash flow statement, what happened with the cash of the organization. Receivables and prepaids are another $17 million roughly. You have inventory of $4.5 million at that point in time. Your fixed assets, which we had a little discussion of that. Under general accepted accounting principles, fixed assets are recorded at your cost or fair market value at date of donation if they were donated. So they're not presented at market. That's not a general accepted accounting standards. Less depreciation, so that's why it says net. So less depreciation is $258 million worth of fixed assets. And we have other assets of $1.8 million. So that's kind of the composition of your assets at June 30th. If you go to the next page then, it's a composition of your liabilities. So we've got accounts payable. This is mine to change. All right. So you've got the color code, so it's a little easier, but the lighter blue is your accounts payable. So that's $5.8 million. We've got a current portion of debt. So that's the amount that will be paid within the next 12 months. It's $3.4 million. We've got a little bit of other liabilities of $1.3 million. Primarily, most of your debt is COP debt. That's $139 million. And we've got some other long-term liabilities that consists of $7.7 million. So that's the makeup of your liabilities at June 30th. Here into June 30th, so now we're looking at an annual period. Your tax revenues were $24 million. Your water sales were another $20 million. Your irrigation sales were another $6 million. You had some investment earnings of $784,000 and other revenues of $8.8 million. So that's kind of the makeup then of your revenues over that period of time. All right, so if we go to the next page, then we get in purchases. I think they're the 4.9 million based on the colors. We've got a little bit of pumping and transportation of 1.2 million, water treatment of 5, admin costs of 4 million, depreciation, which we were talking about in relation to the fixed assets and amortization, then is probably the 4 million, I'm sorry. Water purchases are the 8. We have the state water contract purchases of 19 million, and we have interest expense then of another 4.7 million on that debt. So that is the makeup of your.
What is the transportation, pumping and transportation? What transportation is that?
I think it's distribution, more cost of distribution. We call it pumping and transportation.
I think our Edison bill's about $1 million.
And your Edison bill, yeah, back to Edison.
I think it's Edison.
It's primarily Edison, so it's the cost of moving water, basically. So we got them in totals now, so you got your total operating revenues, so this year it's 26 million. The operating expenses were 24 million, so you had operating income of 2 million. We've got non-operating revenues, so that's primarily taxes and other things, of 34 million. Non-operating expenses of 24 million, so you had a net increase this year of $12 million compared to the previous years.
The operating,
shows a nice trend.
the operating expense on the top one, 14, is that due to our projects?
That's water purchases, pumping, water treatment, transmission and distribution, general admin accounts, groundwater survey, and depreciation expense. So your non-operating include the state water contract, interest, and amortization of bond premium. So those are kind of condensed. If you get into your audit report, I'm more on pages 8 and 9. That's kind of that's in more detail there. So these are just totals. But that's what's in those numbers.
As I mentioned at the last board meetings, Oroville's storage is slightly higher and than their initial study, but they decided to hang on to that for next year. One of the problems they have is they have a river valve that is at the bottom of the reservoir and it's inoperable. And that's at about 800,000, so they keep 200,000 or 300,000 above that river valve. So in the past, they've been, it's been operational, and if they got into a tight spot, they might be able to release water through that river valve, but they can't now. So they're holding a little more water in Oroville. Didn't really affect our allocation for this year. It's still at 35%. Might help us a little bit, a smidgen maybe next year. We did submit our request for 2014. They will allocate water based on what's in storage and a conservative hydrology on December 1st. So we should hear something soon. I'm not getting my hopes up, but it's likely to be very conservative. There is a slight chance of rain in the watershed today, but it's just on the 10-day forecast. There's just a little bit of, I think it was a 1/10 of an inch in the watershed. So we're not really starting out the year in very good shape as far as historical numbers. Here's the reservoir conditions. You can kind of get a feel for what's going on in the state in general. The red line, again, is the historical average. The blue section is actual storage. So you can see that San Luis is at 24% of actual capacity and 48% of historical numbers. So this is, again, Oroville storage, kind of on the downhill slope until it starts raining this fall. The blue line is actual storage. The red line is flood control regulation. East side's at 3.5. We have the connection. We're getting about 1 MGB from the Palmdale water connection, and the water bank is off. We are doing, I've got any other operation issues, John?
Can we get over the bad quality water?
Great segue. So, yeah, State Water Project has improved a little bit. pH is a little more normal. That was what was giving us trouble a week or two ago, is pH was getting a little abnormal, and the bromides were high. We had kind of quite a peak in bromide, and that affects our ability to deal with PHMs and so forth. Bromides are still high, but they're coming down, and pH is much more normal than. So we're hoping we're kind of through the woods here on water quality. We are doing some solar bee testing of the Leone Valley tank this week.